It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State, and we're having the crucial conversations that Erie needs. And we want to welcome in to our studio here Brian Marshall. He is the virtual CIO at VNET, and they're getting ready for their tech summit on Thursday. Brian, welcome to the show. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
We're a family show. We like to hear origin stories. You're an Erie kid, aren't you?
I am. I grew up in Harbor Creek, born and raised, still live in Harbor Creek to this day. I'm actually on the zoning hearing board out there. And so I've been in Harbor Creek my entire life. So that's where I came from. I went to Mercyhurst. That was sort of my path. And then after Mercyhurst, I went to a company in Harbor Creek, worked there for 10 years, and made my way over to Joel and VNET 18 years ago. And I've been with VNET ever since.
So when you went to Mercyhurst, what was your degree in? Did they have things like cybersecurity back in the day?
So not at all. And I was supposed to be a physics teacher when I was all done.
Okay.
And I did that student teaching, and I met those kids, and I thought, boy, it takes a special person to be a teacher. I'm so lucky my wife's a teacher, and she's phenomenal at it. The idea that I could not reach every kid really drove me bananas, and I was pretty good at computers.
Yeah.
So because I did physics, et cetera, the computers came easy to me, and it was something I just sort of fell into, and then I fell in love with it, and I have been doing it ever since.
Wow. Do you still teach like at all, or some college students or whatever?
I'm always teaching. Right?
Okay.
So
yeah.
in what I do, well, this is sort of off topic, but kind of awesome. Like, one of my superpowers, as I call it, is the ability to take a complex topic like cybersecurity and make it easy for a business owner or somebody who is a smart person but maybe not savvy in that area. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of the teaching. That teaching background makes it easy for me to be able to present the ideas and frame it in a way that makes sense to them so that they internalize it and then go forward and make good decisions for their business.
So would you say if somebody kind of were, let's say they grew up in the 90s and they were tinkering around with the early days of the internet, would you say that if they stop there with their knowledge base, that it's totally different in 2025?
Yeah, it's not at all the same. So that's where I grew up. Like when I was at Mercyhurst, we brought the internet to the students. Like one of my first jobs when I was a student there, also working on their help desk, because the teachers had it, but no students had it. Like this is before students had internet in their dorms. I know we've got an intern in the room. It became hard to believe that was a thing. Like that really was a thing, that people didn't have the internet. You couldn't just go to Google and ask it a question, right? This was a time. So if you stopped there with your knowledge, it changes all of the time. And parlaying into this business of cybersecurity, like we never talked about it. It wasn't a thing. The idea of doing bad things wasn't there yet. So the internet was a cool, free place that you could do stuff. And then over time, the bad actors figured out, oh, this is a nice conduit back into where I can cause trouble. And here we are today.
Yeah, when you think about, people getting started in AOL and going into a chat room and maybe meeting someone or, learning more about whatever, interests, they're into locomotives, O-gauge, miniature trains, or whatever you wanted to do, you could learn that stuff back then. But now it's almost like you're in a situation where you're going into a bad part of town half the time.
I'd say way more than half, right? I think that 90% of what's out there is either made up or not real. So being a savvy user of the internet has never been more important than it is now. Like that's a thing that's real for sure.
Let's start with the origin story of the VNET Tech Summit. I think last year they called it the Security Conference or something like that. Talk about the start of this and where it's growing to today.
Sure. I think this is our 5th or 6th year in a row of doing this. And so it started with sort of Joel decided that Joel Duderman, owner of VNET, decided that it would be a really great idea if we brought our expertise into sort of a conference type scenario. So at VNET, we're very blessed. We send our employees out to ongoing training, and they go to conferences all over the country. So things like this aren't unusual nationally and globally, but they're unheard of in Erie, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So we decided to put the first one on here, and we did. And we had a couple of vendors there, and we had a few 30 or 40 people at it, and it started to grow a little bit, and little by little it became more and more and more. And now we're in that 300 to 400 people showing up at this event. I've got vendors from all over. And then when I say vendors, they're partners of mine. So people that VNet partner with to bring security services, et cetera, to our region. We've got these experts, CEOs or engineers from their companies coming to us to present on their applications and talk about the landscape and sort of make it easier for people to consume. And then this year, we doubled down and decided to get an awesome keynote speaker. So for the end of this thing, we've got Jen Easterly coming. That is an enormous get. It probably doesn't mean a lot to the people sitting in this room, and that's okay, unless you read the press release of what's going on.
Well, I've heard of CISA.
Yeah, okay, so exactly. So you know that exists, and you know that she headed it up. Yes. And when you know that, and you know that she's wandering around, overseeing 10,000 people trying to protect our local government, they're all not local, but national government interests, a $3 billion agency. She's a big deal. She's also very cool because she's done tours. She's been all over. So to get her is a big deal for Erie. I mean, I have seen her before at national conferences that have 5,000 or 6,000 people at them.
Wow.
So
what is CISA, to renew
the cybersecurity infrastructure security? I mean, basically, they're in charge of the critical infrastructure for the country to make sure that they basically put out the guidelines and tell everyone this is what you should be doing to protect, in the case of the government, all of our national interests and all of our, assets.
So Department of Defense has to listen to her, Department of Treasury.
They're taking guidance from there, right?
Okay.
Each one of those departments will do their own thing, but this is trying to bring it all together to say, what are our best practices? What are the things that we should be doing to make sure that we're protected from a nation state, right? And then in the private world, we take from that lead and say, okay, what of that can we apply to, your big giant Fortune 500 companies all the way down to your potato stand, right? Everybody has to take some level of that. Now, would I expect somebody that owns a pizza shop to have the same securities in place that they have at the Mint? Probably not, right? That would feel a little ridiculous, and we'd be paying like $11,000 for a piece of pizza.
Right. So
it doesn't seem sustainable. At the same time, we can take those same principles, use somebody like a VNet that can buy in bulk and bring those same kind of technologies and best practices to push down to that business.
But nothing is foolproof, right, Brian?
No.
This is all like playing defense. It's a driving defensively kind of thing, huh?
So there's one surefire way to never get infected. Is what you do is you unplug all the computers and fire all the people. Because I've never had a computer that is sitting unplugged that nobody's touching have a problem. Short of that, if you're not just going to buy computers, stick them in a closet and never plug them in, you're always on the defensive. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So when that attack happens to you, how ready are you for it and what kind of defenses do you have in play? I have some phenomenal stories about, big companies being attacked and going down, and companies that I protect that are attached to them sort of ancillarily through VPNs. A lot of terms we don't really need to know, but just know that that company had access into their systems.
Yeah.
My systems detected that attack, shut down the attack vector. My customer was down for about 5 minutes. The national company didn't pay their people for 6 weeks, right? And it's not to say we were better than that. It's that because this big attack was happening, having the right things in place make you able to protect against the bad things from happening. You want to be sure that you're in this I call it the belt and suspenders model, right? Everything we do at VNet when it comes to protecting you is belt and suspenders. We never want to be caught with our pants down. There's going to be a time when something bad's going to happen. Can we mitigate how bad that thing is? That's really what you're playing towards. If you think, I want to play to when we're never going to get compromised, that's a foolish game, right? That's like saying I'm going to go play golf and always get a hole-in-one. Like, it's never going to happen. You're trying for a hole-in-one every time, but if we could really get rid of the double bogeys or the triple bogeys, that's really, we're in pretty good shape. If we could shoot par golf all the time, everyone around this table would be pretty happy about that.
Sure.
We're shooting for that when we're doing our cybersecurity plan. You can't shoot for perfect. You got to shoot for what's reasonable, sustainable for your budget and for the landscape.
it always occurs to the layperson, though, of like, I don't know if it was American Airlines or what airline it was. Maybe it was Southwest that had a total meltdown. And like you say, couldn't pay people, couldn't book a flight, couldn't figure out what to do with luggage. And you wonder, how can there be no redundancies to be able to have those complicated systems work?
So you think about it, you could have redundancies, but what if the redundancy gets compromised too, right? So it's sometimes we don't know what we don't know until we're in that situation. Oftentimes with larger companies, I point to mergers. When you have mergers and acquisitions happening, you're often bolting things on. And so you've got this thing that's kind of grown and it's tough to get your arms around. Even giant companies have budget constraints to being able to work through it. In a perfect world, we'd say, okay, we're going to do this merger. We're not going to do anything for 6 months while we figure out and make sure everything's perfect. Yeah. How do you do that? Well, in the middle of that transition, that's when you're definitely the most vulnerable. Again, we need to have things in place to make sure we're good.
Wow. That's astounding. We're talking to Brian Marshall here. Before every break, I want to make sure people understand how they can register, because how to do that.
If you go to vnetsummit.com, it'll take you right to the page. It'll tell you all about the summit. There's a sign up link there. Okay, if you want to go sign up, there are still tickets available. They are limited, so you want to go quickly, because come Monday we're going to have to turn that link off, because we're filling up the room fast. When people realized what a big ticket item this is, people are coming rushing in.
And so they're coming for. Are there? We'll talk about the schedule here after the break. It's 4:18. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We're talking about the VNET Tech Summit coming up. This is an appropriate song and talking to Brian Marshall from VNET. We're talking about the danger zone, and certainly cybersecurity. So much is in the danger zone. Brian, let's get to some of these topics and what folks can expect at the VNET Tech Summit, which is happening this Thursday, July 10th here.
Yeah, so we start off with a nice little breakfast, right? And a chance to talk to other people in the industry. So the vendors will all be there. Vendor tables are set up. So at breakfast, you can sort of chat and talk to people and get to know your colleagues and what's going on. We transition that right into an opening talk. I think the opening talk this year is going to be focusing around sort of these email compromises that have been going on, something that's very it's for everyone, right? Everyone should know about this and sort of this attack vector and what's happening. Then we're going to roll into a discussion with Erie Bank and Hilling Pfeffer Insurance. So I'm going to have them up on the stage. We're going to do a little roundtable with them. It'll be an opportunity to ask them questions about what the banking industry and in the insurance, specifically cyber liability insurance, what does that mean to these people in the audience, and what should they be doing to, one, protect their money, and two, protect their businesses from an insurance standpoint. That's a session that everybody wants to do, so that's on the main stage. Then we go into some breakout sessions, so you'll have options as you go down. So if you're more hardware minded, we've got some hardware tracks where you can learn about some new stuff that's coming up in Wi-Fi and some things that are happening in switching and sonic walls and those kind of things to try to protect you. But then we also have the software side of things for if you want to learn about how do we train our employees and do constant contact with them to make sure that they're being trained, or we want to learn about browser plugins. We've got stuff on backups, we've got stuff on protection. So it flows on both sides. So depending on if you're super technical or if you're a business owner, there's tracks for both ways. We don't force you to go to either one, so you can visit the rooms as they see fit. There's always the vendors who aren't presenting at the time are at their booth, so that you've got opportunities to speak with them. Hey, I've heard about Proofpoint before. Could you explain to me a little better about? Now we got a Proofpoint expert there that can explain that to you. The Sonic Wall expert's there. The Atacama expert is there. The Huntress expert is there. Like, we have the experts in the field in the room, so you can ask that question that's been keeping you up at night. You can actually get to the people that write these softwares and can invoke change.
And then the keynote is in later on then?
So that's a 3. Yeah, so there's a lunch in there too. We feed you. Listen, we're in IT. There's always food.
There's always
right?
food, right.
Megan tells me there'll be cookies at some point too, so there'll be some cookies floating around. So there's always an opportunity to eat. I kind of glossed over. Right after lunch, we'll pop back in, and Matt Lee. So if you look him up online, he's Cyber Matt Lee. He is a huge get. Giant beard, super awesome dude. His podcast is huge. That guy, we've now had him. This is his 3rd year in a row that he's done our conference. He is very difficult to get, but he likes Erie so much and likes what we do here, and we make sure that we take care of him down on the Bayfront, and he gets to enjoy the nice summer here. Matt and his wife will be stopping in, but he will put on a talk that is you cannot miss. Like, he keeps it light, he keeps it entertaining, but he gets right to the point. He's one of those black hat guys that will go in and hack your computer. Like, he works with those groups to make sure that you're being tested and understands what it's going to take to stay compliant and make yourself protected. Then we roll into a couple more of those breakout sessions, and it kind of finishes off with Jen. She'll be doing her talk, and she's not going to do a speech. She said, I really don't love doing speeches. She'll introduce herself. She'll do a couple of minutes, and she's going to sit down on the stage. I've got some questions to ask her, and then we're going to open up to the audience. You have the opportunity to ask her anything you want to ask. If you want to know about national security when it comes to cybersecurity, her tours in the different wars or whatever. I mean, she's there. So she'll be easy to talk to.
It's probably important for those that are considering making the investment to come, and again, for some of our listeners, the investment of time is a bigger deal than the investment of cost. Who do you, when you think about the types of people listening to talk radio, who should be coming to this event?
So this should be that business leader, that owner, or they're sending somebody. I'm going to be honest with you, it's almost always somebody in accounting. It's the weirdest thing that IT always seems to roll up to accounting because they think of it as like a cost center. So, well, you know how to use QuickBooks. You must be good at computers. So now you're in charge of computers. So that guy or gal should come, or the person they trust most when it comes to this, because they're going to learn things that they're going to want to bring back to their company to be able to protect them. So I'd love to have every business owner there to absorb this and sort of understand the gravity of it all. But if you had to pick one or the other, I would pick the person that can invoke the most change when it comes to our cybersecurity posture within our business.
Yeah, it almost feels like you need somebody at an upper level that would be able to say, you know what, this is going to cost us $5,000, but we've got to do it.
But now I know why we have to do it, right? It's going to cost me way more not to do it when the bad things happen, right? This isn't throwing money at a problem that probably won't happen. You mentioned, bigger companies that it happens to. If it happened to them, imagine what could happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in finance or, again, some of these things that we've been seeing on the news, they're constantly under attack.
Always under attack, and it's There's a new attack vector out there where the bad guys are sending you good emails, but they're good emails you don't want. So they're not really spam. So I would send you 50 emails in a row, then call you on the phone saying, hey, this is the help desk. You just got a bunch of spam. Do you want me to help you with that? And you're like, oh, thank God. And then you let them on your computer, and then they take your whole network down.
Oh, my Lord.
We have protections in place to stop that from happening. And that's what you learned about at this summit is how can you make sure that that doesn't happen to you?
How, just total rabbit trail, but how would like your function as a virtual CIO, how does that even work? I mean, are you basically setting up the protocols within my little network at my
Yes.
I don't know, car dealer or whatever.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
car dealer's a great example.
Yeah.
We've got lots of those. So what we're doing is we're helping you, one, meet your standards. So we're getting you the right softwares in place so you've got protections. We've got things that are watching all the time. So when somebody starts doing something they shouldn't be doing, we can alert you to that and we can cut it off
even that
before it happens.
ransomware type of email?
That exact scenario that happened, about 40 seconds after you let the bad actor onto your computer, my software sees, something is weird, and it turns the computer off, and it sends a note to me so that we can tell you what's going. I'm not waiting for you to tell me, I made a mistake. I'm getting in front of that. Huge thing is identity theft. And you think of identity theft as like somebody stole my social security number. That's a thing. That's also important. Don't let your identity be stolen. But when it comes to your online identity, that identity we're talking about is when you log into Microsoft Office 365 and use your two-factor authentication because they told me to do that and I'm a good little soldier and I do that. If you click the wrong button when you get the right kind of email, somebody can do what's called an identity swap and they can steal your identity online and they're now acting as you. I have softwares in place that watch for that to happen and say, well, wait a minute, Joel was in Erie and now he's in France. That seems impossible. Let me shut this down until we figure out what's going on. We don't think he's on the Concorde, right?
Oh my gosh.
We're proactively making sure those kind of things don't happen to you because when they happen, they are catastrophic.
Yeah.
They are the amount of time and money that a company loses when something happens I think it's the third largest economy in the world is the cybercrime is the latest thing.
Good Lord.
There's the US and then there's the next, and then there's cybercrime. That's the third largest economy in the world.
It's amazing how fast it goes because you mentioned two-factor authentication, which some people are just getting caught up to, but it's already on its way out. As what is it now? Passkey that they want you to do?
So you're going to use passkeys and passphrases. You're going to be doing, one-time passwords and things that happen instantaneously. There's all kinds of things that we want to do to make sure that you are who you say you are.
We've got Brian with us here from VNET. We've got to take our bottom of the hour break, our must-have break. So if you have a question for him, save it. We'll be back in 4 minutes here. Brian Marshall, VNET Tech Summit. I'm over at the website here, and you can sign up for it at the VNET Tech. What is it again?
VNetSummit.com.
VNetSummit.com, and click on the buy tickets. It's probably it's going to be the best 11 hours that you've spent if you want your company to stay safe. And I tell you what, I love, and Joel told me this last year, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're dealing with this stuff. All right, back after the news, it's Talk Erie. Learning more about cybersecurity and how you could have your company or your, hey, nonprofits are really vulnerable as well, because we don't always have the big money to put in all the supports here. We've got Brian Marshall with us. Brian, I think if you could put those headsets on, we're going to take a phone call or two here. Hi, you are live. Hello, you are live with Brian Marshall here on Talk Erie. Go ahead.
Brian, I am just a common John Q. Public. I have Pit Stop Virus Protection, and I have T-Mobile Internet, wireless Internet service, and my IP address comes out of Ohio. And as a result of that, I am unable to get the Pittsburgh Pirates Sportsnet Pittsburgh, because their contract with Major League Baseball requires that IP address be in the Pittsburgh Pirates local area. In other words, it has to be in Pennsylvania. Is there anything I can do?
I mean, you could probably sign up for a VPN service that runs solely out of Pennsylvania. I don't have one personally, but I'm certain that there's a VPN that runs out of Pennsylvania. You could try to do that. The other thing you might be able to do is talk to T-Mobile and see if they can. They definitely have IPs in Pennsylvania. I
have talked to T-Mobile. There's nothing they can do. In fact, when I'm surfing the internet, I get ads from Cleveland, Ohio. I get all my ads. And the other thing is, am I safe with your standard Pit Stop virus protection, or should I be doing something else?
So virus protection is great. That's always good. Step one. Step two is making sure we're making good decisions when we're on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell a really quick story that this is how I bring it together.
All right, Brian, maybe if you can comment by making a real smart things while you're on the internet. There's programs out there like Pegasus that I'm aware of, and there's not much you can do.
Yeah. I'm going to let him tell that story. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yeah, tell that story.
Yeah. So when I talk about being good and being smart, 100% of the time when I go into my garage and I pull my wife's car out and I get the ladder and go up to get the cooler, I'm undefeated. But when I decide to walk into the garage, put one foot on the fender, one foot on the bike, and try to reach it, 50-50 chance whether I fall down. When we make hasty and poor decisions online, that's when bad things happen. So I always tell people, take a minute, take a breath, and stop. You get an email that says you have to do something right now. Hold on. There's a sense of urgency. That's a red flag for me. I'm going to take a breath. Don't panic. Don't just start clicking. If you know something doesn't seem right, don't do that thing. It's amazing to me the number of people that will call my help desk saying, I just clicked this thing and I know it's a problem. I'd really rather they were like, you know what, I didn't click that thing. Give me a high five because I didn't do that, because they took that second. Busy people make mistakes. I always tell this little joke that when I'm doing my cyber awareness training for people, if you're bored at work and you just put your feet up all day, you're probably not going to fall victim to the attack because you have plenty of time to do this. But if the phone is ringing off the hook, you got 10 callers trying to call in, you're trying to do this and that, and an email comes through saying you've got to do this in the next 5 minutes or you're going to lose access, that's when you're likely to become vulnerable. You need to take a second. You need to take a breath. You need to make good decisions.
What about these spam filters and things? Again, you talk about what is it, vectors, right?
Yeah, attack vectors.
Attack
right?
vectors. And certainly email
is a huge one.
Right.
So you've got your email vector, you've got your pop-ups when you're online, right? So let's go to that spam filter. I think spam filters are very important. I think they're a must-have for your business. If you're a home user, you're probably using a Gmail or something like that. They generally have spam filters built into them. But just because something makes it through the spam filter doesn't mean you have to do anything about it. People always ask me, I think I got a spam email. What should I do? And I say, delete it. Well, what if it turns out I needed it? They can resend it. You can send an email around the world in like a half a second. So if for some reason that email was so important, the person will just resend it